All right, here we go. The late night happy hour on a Wednesday. Soren, Petro in Kansas City. Cofield here in America City. Las Vegas.
Is that the new name?
The City of Entertainment. The MGM Grand. What do they used to call it? The King of Entertainment? I know it was our liner when
City of Entertainment, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I felt like MGM Grand had like a special name, like I don't know what it was.
Oh, they always had something that Michael Buffer would say at all the fights, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good guy, Michael Buffer. Good guy.
Yeah, you're a fan, as I understand. Is that right?
I've always thought of Michael Buffer as kind of a pussy.
Bro, just diving right into it, man.
We're gonna get into the discussion of cuss words tonight, and specifically, as they said a million times on, except for Don Lemon, he was giddy. We're gonna talk about the P word tonight. The P word. Petro and I are bigger fans of the C bomb. Generally, we'll fire out the clunt here and there, but
that's one of yours. I either go down the road or I don't mess with it.
We were getting a little worried because there were a few too many C bombs being thrown out with very renowned attorney locally here, Justin Watkins, one of our buddies. The guy served in office in Nevada, and we're dropping C bombs all over the place. And I was like, his family's watching, he's got in-laws watching, and they were like, we like your show, but I think it was his mother-in-law was like, how about you cut out cunt, okay? She actually said it. We were like, whoa, okay. But it hits harder when it's a 73-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Now that said, my mother used to all the time, if I was acting, it was kind of whining around the house, she would just drop it on me. And then you knew it was time to go outside and play. When you got called the C bomb when you were 8 by your mom. Yeah. Does your mom ever curse? I've met your mother. What a lovely, smallish woman. She just seems very polite and proper. Does she cuss as an adult? She probably cursed at you a lot as a kid, but does she cuss?
Does she cuss? Yeah, she'll drop one here and there, not as much. She used to be the chief deputy clerk of the federal bankruptcy court here in Kansas City. She was a ball buster. She managed like 40 people, had the whole state of Missouri that she was over and everything. And so, when that was the case, man, like my mom now is like, she is like exactly what you want for like a grandmother. Like she's this tiny little woman and you're like, oh, she's so sweet and kind and she's kind of shy and everything. That was not my mom when I was a kid.
Yeah.
She stepped out on a basketball court out in a little league, like a 6th grade basketball game in like a tournament championship game or something. It was this tight game. And so we were having a foul, you're 6th grade, you barely know how to foul at the end of the game, right? To stop the clock. And there was a kid who came down and the kid on the other team, like he actually got called for a charge, right? He ran over our guy, but the dad of that kid thought, one of my teammates had done something wrong. He jumps out, he starts yelling at the kid, and my mom jumps out in between him and starts going at him. You should be ashamed of yourself. Sit your ass down. You have no place on that court. And it's like that was like now, you just, seems like this, not feeble because she's in great shape for 79, but just like not the same lady. Like I tell my kids, this was not the woman that, I grew up with. I got my ass handed to me. Okay. This is the sweet grandma and her checks and her, give grandma a hug, man. That shit wasn't what it was when I was growing up.
God, I won't remember, but it would be awesome if you tell your mom in like the next week or so when we're out there in Kansas City, hopefully for the fantasy baseball draft. If I do see her, she drops like a mother blanker on me, just out of nowhere, and in front of the rest of our friends, will they be like, "What just happened?"
If she did, it would most likely be with the word "you" in front of it.
Yes.
If she were addressing you, Steve.
Apparently Miller J. Vegas is concerned about your mass. Was asking here, your mom is tiny. Was your dad an elk or something? I love it.
I know my mom actually had. Well, she's not even 5 feet anymore. I don't think. But she had uncles that were like great uncles that were like worked the farm that were like Kansas farm boys that were like 6'2", 6'3". So I don't know where it ended up with her, but not that I'm tall, but they were wider of the wider variety.
Are you think about it? Are you an anomaly?
Massive man, yes, Steve. I'm a mountain of a man at
I was
5'8"
just
3/4.
I'm glad you went with the real height there. I don't like the fractions, but that's
you don't like 5'9"? You look like
well, no, I flipped out on many people on the show. Whatever, this and a half, this and 3/4, especially if you're trying to build yourself up. I'm like, stop. We had a guy on the show, the great Ryan McKinnell, who was like, I don't know what he was like. I'm 5'10" and a half. I'm like, all right, let's go back to back. And I'm like, you're shorter than me. I'm 5'9". I've never ever said I was taller than I am. What's the point? I have a commanding presence. I don't have to lie about my height. People are like, I thought you were 6'4".
Didn't you used to call yourself 6 foot or 5'11" or something? Didn't you used to be completely full of shit about your height?
Dude, I go the opposite way. I've always been. This has always been my thing. No, I always say I'm usually somewhere around 5'7" and 400 pounds.
There you go. Undersell, over deliver.
Exactly. And I was just thinking. So I've gotten a little beefier during the pandemic. Is it a bad thing? Because my parents are older and are kind of shrinking. Is it a bad thing if your weight combined is heavier than both your parents?
That's a problem.
That's it. Okay. Well, it's coming. Coming. My parents are not big people, and I think they're probably around 290 combined. So
if you're the pot,
some more eggnog.
Yeah, isn't that about to spoil at some point? That shit doesn't last forever, man. Did you check a date on that thing?
It ferments. It gets more alcohol-y.
Is that what it does? Okay. Get kind of some curds in there. Is that how it works?
Eggnog curds.
Okay.
They float on the top like it's the little dumplings.
Is it a problem if you're the father in a family of 4 and you're more than 50% of the weight?
Yeah. I mean, you have kids. I mean, if they're like babies. but in your case, they're not.
14 and almost 11, they're not babies.
It's been a good pandemic for us in terms of fitness.
You reintroduced yourself to the frozen pizza, did you?
It's funny because you gave me
talked about that on one of these.
Oh, it was like 4 months ago. Can I tell you, we don't do it all the time, but I've totally gotten into pizza to the point where I got the SO gave me a new pizza stone for Christmas. I went out and got like a pizza tray that I can cook on. I bought, I think I've got 4 pounds of frozen mozzarella, or as the real people call it, mozzarella. And I also bought a pizza cooker. So any kind of pizza you want, I'm ready to go. So yes, I've been reintroed to the frozen pizza.
I look forward to you making me a homemade pie the next time I'm in Vegas.
Homemade. Okay, homemade, yes. I will go get the dough at a Trader
Joe's.
The
dough.
Throwing it up in the air. And no, that's all Renee. That's all Renee Brunetti.
That's right.
This is a great question. And I don't know how it's done. This is really for you. How do you have the wherewithal not to cuss while on radio with how you talk? Laugh out loud.
With how I talk.
You're filthy right now.
I like, it's weird because for the longest time, for more than 10 years of having kids, my kids had never heard me swear.
Wow.
They had heard their mom, who does not swear as much as I do because she's a, demure, proper lady. Okay. So, but it never. And somebody's like, God, how do you do that? I'm like, I've worked on the radio, man, for like, 25 years. Like it's a switch. You flip it on, you flip it off. I'm a huge fan of profanity. I think it's oral punctuation. I think it's how you make your point. Right. But you have to be able to make your point. You have to be able to be colorful without it. Right. Like that's just a sign of, you need to have some level of intelligence to be able to make a point and be colorful without it. And you can hint at it and get the job done.
Of course you can.
And we have ass and, bitching and, things like that are at our disposal. You don't want to probably rock it every single time.
No. And I'm not some, a perfect person on the air, far from it, but I've avoided cussing in whatever it is, 25 years of radio. I will use shortened versions of the words, right? So instead of, pussy, I'll say puss. But here's the problem. Like I'll use that guy's a prick. And then I'll have hosts sometimes who then will use prick 4 more times. And I'm like, once. That was the whole point.
Yeah,
like if I say son of a bitch, don't say son of a bitch 6 more times. Then you're like flashing light on the show just one time for effect. Come on.
It's a flash. It's a shock and awe moment, but it's not. Oh, well, we've gone to that level. Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
Everybody's now a son of a bitch.
The floodgates are open.
That son of a bitch hired this other son of a bitch from CrossFit. Son of a bitch. No. One time for effect. You do still have people that are like easily offended, and you still got to try to keep them listening as well.
CJ Cards fan, I saw the trailer for this. It looked really stupid. Was it good? The history of cuss words on Netflix. Was it funny?
That's got to be worthwhile, doesn't it? It's on Netflix.
No.
Everything on Netflix is great, isn't it? They've never missed with anything.
There's some bad stuff. Stuff. For both of us, last time, if ever, your producer had to hit the dump drop button on you.
Our setup at 810 is not the best because I'm not 100% sure when I hit the dump button that it actually works. So what you get is like, if somebody, like, I'll just say on a caller, I'll give you the answer on me in a second, but on a caller, like you hit it, I'm in there going, pressing, going, dump, because like Jed will be doing something else and not hear what the guy says. And I'm pressing it, and we think it's like 50-50 if mine works. I'm like, Jed, dump it. And so if you're ever on the live stream is the pure feed, right? So, dump it. I think it has, does that? No, it doesn't have the talkback. The talkback doesn't come on the live stream, but you can't.
Is this Tate, who I think was busting my chops last week on Twitter?
Yeah.
What? You set up at 810, not the best?
No. We've all our money goes to talent. It's all in talent salaries. It's exorbitant amounts of money that we're all making. We just have no money for the left for the different. Oh yeah, that was. How
bad was it?
Well, it wasn't Frank. It was actually Pete, and Pete was gonna. His point was he was gonna give the final words of Nicole Brown Simpson, and I'm like, no. Yeah, and we literally turned his mic off, and I think Curtis yanked this chair away from the microphone, so he couldn't even shout towards one of the other microphones. Pete's a little irreverent.
I've never had the dump button used on me. I've never cursed. In fact, I have a rule, and Vegas listeners have heard it. I don't believe our equipment works. I don't trust our anti-masker COVID hoaxer tech guy in the back. I'm very conspiratorial, so I think he could just rewire the room at any point, and we're live when we don't think we're live. So I tell people during breaks, I'm like, don't curse, man. You never know if that mic is open. You have no idea what's going on here. And 100% don't curse when we're on remote. Never do that. But I've never cursed. I've never had the drop button or dump button used. Brady asked the worst interview with a guest. I mean, it's an easy one for me. We had back in the day when these guys were big stars and we were covering a lot of UFC. Chuck Liddell was on with Matt Hughes, and it was like the machine blew up. They started getting all comfortable, and it was just like fuck shit, and you like the machine has to reset.
Build up. It takes time to build up to 7 seconds.
And dude, it was like 21 in a minute. I'm like, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do? Yell at them, put one of them in a chokehold, like stop talking. They're UFC fighters. If they go ballistic, you just got to go to break. I can't stop it.
I've been dumped a couple of times. First time I ever had to be dumped, I was trying to think of. I'll never forget the guy's name, Mike Fox. Sports fan. We're at MGM. Remember Captain Bly, Chris Bly, running the operation. And like the segment before, he was like not paying attention, and I had unloaded on him. Like, dude, get your head out of your ass. What are you doing back there? Right? Because we were at the MGM, and he was back at the studios. And so then I'm getting there, and it's Chuck Powell, friend of ours, works at KJR now in Seattle, and I was trying to think of going through for whatever reason, the Panthers defensive line. It's the beginning of my inability to remember anyone's name. And the guy, the D tackle from West Virginia. Except I caught myself on in. So what came out was, Like that was it. Like that's where it stopped. Right? And I can't see it. I have no dump button. You remember the setup at the MGM, no dump button. And I'm relying on some guy who's probably half baked back at the station to dump it. And I just checked out. And of course, what do you do when somebody does something like that? You draw no attention to it. You lay low. So what did Chuck do? What?
Yeah.
What did you say? And I'm like, oh, this is great. I was like, I'm 24 years old or whatever. And,
Done.
And I'm like, oh, I was done for the segment. I was like, I'm out. I got nothing. Get there, and then I have to go like, hey, did you dump that? I thought about it for about 6 seconds, and then I dumped it. All right, man, get that. That was the first one. Nowadays, they just say something. I'm like, that probably wasn't the best idea, and I dumped myself.
Yeah, we don't have
often, but
the hosts don't have a dump button, and we're all in the same room, so you can't call attention to it by going dump. So we actually I came up with an idea like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. We were going to draw a toilet up on the whiteboard, and like Adam would run over and point to the toilet, because a lot of times the producers they're doing 15 things, like you said with Jed, so they're not paying attention. They don't even hear it. So I would say on our show, nothing against Ari, but he's one guy doing the job of 3. I think we're probably 33% successful.
I love how your idea to try to solve this is to play a game of Pictionary.
I know, right?
That's about the dumbest idea.
And the great thing is, because of the setup,
3 syllables. First one.
The dump button would be over here for him, and Adam would be over here pointing at a toilet. So he's just like looking over here. He can't get. It's like it's not going to work. No. None of it's going to work. I do love the fact that we're doing a little inside radio talk here. We'll get to all the football and James Harden.
Coach, we have not. I saw somebody ask. We have not gotten to the enemy.
No. I like that your listeners are like, 810 is just. It's the worst thing I've ever heard of, bro. From Tech Issues, come out here. Please. It can always be worse. And he is
not wrong, though. We are off a lot.
Are you?
we are off a lot.
Yeah.
We are not, and it's not because of the Drake. Let me tell you something, because the Drake is doing like 5 jobs. And that's what it is. Like, we're not the big corporate deal with 5 engineers and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there were literally probably some shoestrings keeping some shit together around there, man. I mean, it gets frustrating, but there is actually an element of, okay, who do we want to fire to get new equipment? Like, we'll keep all the people.
I know, right?
There is that side of it. So,
yeah, this is a big one. Ari doesn't take dumps during segments, but he does piss 75% of the breaks.
Really?
He's
bladder syndrome, huh?
He's almost never in there. And now we're all on camera, right? Because we set up basically the same setup we have here. We do it behind the scenes on the show. So you're like, Ari, and you're like, he's not there. So he's doing stuff. Nah, he's usually doing like production.
He doesn't take dumps during the show, but you pretty much dump on every segment. Is that how it works?
Oh yeah, and that's a tradition on Cofield and Company. How do you think we've lasted this long? Yeah, the bladder of the Tic Tac. All right, so let's go back to the top of what we had planned today. I think today was one of the greatest days in NBA history. I love James Harden. I've always loved James Harden.
You love James Harden? James Harden's game?
I love James Harden's game. I like the way he got himself out of Houston by getting a little bit fat. I like when players exercise their power.
If there's an NBA player that's starting to resemble you.
Yes, he's balding. Yes, he's got a belly. Pretty much kind of leans on people, a little step back, can shoot free throws. He's 6'6". I'm not. But let me finish.
Old man, he now resembles the old man game that he brings to the yard.
Oh, no doubt. But I like when players get power, and this is my narrative on this. Well, I think most of the country is like, this is terrible. James Harden, what a selfish bastard. If you're an owner in your town, if your team's owner doesn't care and isn't trying, then the best player on the team has every right to go, you know what, fuck this, I'm out of here. And especially James Harden. James Harden is a business genius. James Harden has so much money outside of basketball because he hooked up with Kobe and this energy drink. James Harden's worth $200 million with that. He's worth like $200 million on his own because of basketball and endorsements. He's like the first guy who could go, I'm not going to play. I will sit out. I don't give a shit. Keep finding me. I'm worth hundreds of millions. Move me now. I love it. I love when players have power and strike back at, while Tillman Fertitta is a great guy. Thank you to the Golden Nugget. We love you down there. We want to do shows with you. So I won't have a lot of things that are bad to say about Tillman Fertitta, but he is in cut mode right now. And if you're a veteran player trying to get titles, why should you stay around? Move me. I told you to move me. Now we've gotten to the brink of, disaster, and now you move me for nothing. That's on you. That's on you, Rockets. You knew 2 months ago I wanted to go. Now all you get back is draft picks. Not my problem.
Well, I will say you sell your soul to the devil when you sign the mega contract, right? Like I don't agree with you. Like I have no problem with him leveraging his position and doing what he has to do. I think at some point I think the Rockets should have just left him sitting there. If you're going to suck, like let him sit out. Let him sit all the way through until you get the offer you want. Like caving on this, what they end up with Victor Oladipo and a couple of rubber dog turds. I mean, give me a break. Like I don't. This deal's not good enough. But I don't begrudge any player for doing what they got to do. I do think that there is when you take the check, you're obligated to give your best. And showing up as a fat ass at camp, I think that's bullshit. And I do think there's an element of.
It's disrespectful to your teammates. That's the one thing. The other guys want to play. They're working. You are effing them
right. And I think there's an element to like make your game one that somebody wants to play with. Like he and Chris Paul should have been the combination that worked. It's been downhill since then, but that's the combination that should have worked. But your game sucks, like from a standpoint of guys wanting to play with you. And I think it's going to be interesting because I don't know that this is going to work in Brooklyn. Because I think Kevin Durant wanted away from Russell Westbrook, and he's just right now back with Russell Westbrook and head case Kyrie Irving. I never thought the Kyrie Irving thing was going to work. Whatever's going on with him. I mean, I'm not following minute by minute why Kyrie Irving's gone because we don't have an NBA team here, but that was a shit show ready to happen. I don't understand why Kevin Durant signed on there. I can understand that, like, okay, I came to the Warriors, did what I wanted to do, and now I want to try something different. I mean, I can't understand it because I've never had that kind of success in my life. But, I mean, I think I can understand where his head would be. But teaming up with Kyrie Irving was the plan? What's that shit? Go team up with Giannis, right? Like, but, I got to be in New York. Don't want to be in Milwaukee or whatever. Go team up with a guy that's like a stone cold, ready to go, 80 nights a year, young badass. Not like I've had to – my seasons ended early, like half my career, Kyrie Irving. That was a shit move to begin with, and this is just doubling down. Crazy meets crazy. I'm not. You convinced this is going to work?
I'm convinced. Win the NBA title? No, but I also have to see what they do with Kyrie Irving. They're between a rock and a hard place. But I think what they did here, I think this is actually a good proactive move by the Nets. They know long term that they're going to have to get rid of Kyrie. And if they want multiple stars on the team, all right, we got another star, Kyrie. So you get your shit together. You can sit out. You do whatever you want. We'd like to send you somewhere, but, dude, your trade value right now is rock bottom. So maybe he'll get his shit together, and then they can just pull the rug out from underneath him in a month and get something for him. At that point, I just want because, I'm a lifelong Nets fan. I never got mad when they moved out of New Jersey to Brooklyn. I've always stuck with them. But I'm back on board, baby. I'm back on board. For many reasons, because the Knicks fans are just miserable with this. So
just like your passion for the Devils is just renowned.
What? Who's got a New Jersey Nets jersey?
Is that a Jason Williams?
I don't know who the fuck it is.
I think it is Jason Williams.
Clearance item.
It's Jason. To be clear, because there are several Jason Williams. It's the Jason Williams that committed murder, right?
I'll have to check on that one. But yes, he was. He was the net. Yes, the murder. He was the net.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know where I was going. Here's what I'd like to do, because I don't think it's going to work this year. I think they're going to have to clean things up, but I like the combination of KD and Harden together for a few years. If I could, I sent you the odds, right? So the odds right now on the title that were updated, man, I'm hyper tonight. I got to calm down. Lakers plus 260. Nets are second choice now at 3-1. Clippers 6, Bucks 7. At the Circa Sportsbook here in Vegas, they're the only place I know of, brick and mortar, and maybe FanDuel, maybe DraftKings offers this, but they're not here. The Circa actually has yes-no on their title odds. So if you wanted to bet,
you can bet against them winning it.
Yep. So my guess on a number like 3-1, you'd be minus.
Can you parlay it?
I don't think you can parlay it. I don't think you can do a bunch of no's.
Right.
But what I I don't know. I'm not looking to bet a ton, but would I go and bet, I don't know, 1,200 minus 400 Nets no on the title? Sure.
I would, the way I would play that, if you could parlay it, then I think if you can get a lot of, long odds, or in this case, short odds, when you're playing the not side of it, that's the best way to go. I mean,
yep.
And because you can actually get what are things that are 95% likely to happen, even though you're only getting 80%, getting the odds that you have to lay, or you have to, I'm sorry, it'd be the other way, having to lay 10 or 12, on something that's 9-1, but you could parlay it up with 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of them. Now all of a sudden you've got a nice payday.
So Ray is saying you can parlay no to unrelated props at the circa. All right, I'll have to look into that. That's interesting.
So unrelated. So I could parlay it with Chiefs to win on the money line.
So right, for a single game or futures, like
Chiefs to beat the Browns, right, as a 10-point favorite. That's what I would do. Is I would get 4 or 5 of those that are all very likely to happen in a parlay, to where you end up making the parlay. I'd really look for a 10-teamer of all likely to happens.
You're talking futures or individual games?
Well, it depends on where it is and what you can put together.
Yeah.
Some places will let you put together things that are, the parlay's got to happen within this window. Others are, it can happen whenever. You're just holding the ticket for how long. So you're holding this future on the NBA, but the first ones might be, okay, I've got, Chiefs to win outright, Packers to win outright, right? So those are what Chiefs are, I don't know, whatever they are, and plus 10 would be what, minus 300, right?
I can look.
Something like that, 300 or 400. And then roll with the Packers. I'm not saying that I love the Packers, but I do love the Chiefs. They're not losing to the Browns. And roll it through a whole bunch of those. Get the Lakers against some shit turd, in a game. Lay that on the money line. Put all those together. That's how I'd play it.
Interesting. I'll look into that for you. That doesn't seem.
I don't know if you can do it though. A lot of places, there's a lot of exposure on that, and they won't let you do it. They limit how many you can put in there.
Yeah, that doesn't seem feasible to me. But no, I don't think the Nets are going to win this year, because now I think they're going to have to fix their roster a little bit, make sure they have some grinders and defenders. But once Kyrie's gone, as a lifelong Nets fan, I'm cool with Harden and KD. By the way, going back to this question about KD, didn't KD have trouble playing with Steph and Clay? This is not going to go well in New Jersey. No, KD, I don't think had many issues with Steph and Clay. No, KD had trouble. Yeah, he had troubles with Mr. Triple Single. So while Draymond Green has a lot of intangibles and plays great defense, for Draymond Green to be calling out KD is like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, I know
he had a lot of we were winning championships before you got here. We were winning championships. Okay, that's Mitch Kupchak with the Lakers, talking about we were winning championships, before. No, slow down, Skippy. Spare me. Jerry Seasting talking about the championship years in the 80s with the Celtics. No. Hush.
I mean, I think Draymond. I don't like Draymond Green. I think he's a know-it-all. And yeah, he does the wee stuff. I think he's a little better than Jerry Seasting, but I get your point.
Yeah, you exaggerate to make the point, Steve. And I like to go old school. Jerry Seasting. If anyone remembers Jerry Seasting,
I did take you too literally. My bad.
Yeah.
Nets this year, like the Clippers. What next year? Yeah,
were you sidebar? Quick question. Were you auditioning for the role of Rabbit in the 8 Mile sequel or something before you got started on this thing?
Sure.
Yeah, just want to make sure.
I got yelled at for not cutting my hair recently.
So you throw a stocking cap on it. None the wiser.
I'm wearing a lot of hats lately, a lot of sweatshirts, not a lot of pants, a lot of shorts, a lot of sleeping pants. And then I have to go back into society tomorrow with live shows the next 2 days at Silver Sevens Casino and TI.
Okay.
I did a big party at TI.
Very good. I'm into the TI for a while. I'm into the TI since it was called the TI.
It's nice. They did a bunch of build outs. They have a really good sports bar, sports book.
Really? Okay.
That's where we do the shows from. Yeah, the Golden Circle.
In 14 years at this rate of vaccination, when I'm able to come back to Vegas, I look forward to going there.
Right. What do you think about this tweet that the Nets are the enemy of the people? This tweet: we all must come together as a country and root against the Brooklyn Nets after this blockbuster trade. Harden forces a trade. Kyrie Irving is a head case. Who can respect and like this team outside of Brooklyn?
I mean, I just could everyone settle down with themselves? Like, it's not an affront to society, right? Like, I don't know that you have to adore it like you do, but you sure as shit shouldn't be whining. This is what it is. This is the game. This is, they're power brokers. I mean, God forbid the guys who everyone are watching have some power.
Yep.
I've never once paid for a ticket. I mean, I think the Hunt family does a great job with the Chiefs. John Sherman, I think, is going to be an amazing owner with the Kansas City Royals already with his they didn't cut any minor leaguers, no furloughs, no pay cuts for any Royals employees, having them all work from home, the little bit of work that they can do. I think he's going to be an amazing owner, right? But I've never bought a ticket to go watch John Sherman play baseball, and I never will. So there should be at least some respect for the guys who actually go out there and play the game.
KD is likable, so if you only focus on him, you can like them. I don't think KD is likable either.
Why? Why don't you like KD?
Because he's oversensitive about social media. He seems to be kind of looking over his shoulder all the time. Like, KD, you're awesome. You don't need to be bickering with people on social media. You don't need burner accounts. He's just a strange guy. I will say this. This is going to sound so weird. I'm a gigantic fan of Spencer Dinwiddie. I think his story's awesome. He keeps tearing his ACLs. He happened to go to the same high school as my girlfriend. He's an LA guy. He actually turned down UNLV to go to Colorado. So I have whined about that for near 10 years now, that it destroyed the program because they missed on two good point guards, and it fucked up their whole program for 6 years. The other one was Nigel Williams-Goss, who took Gonzaga to the title game and was at Washington. So it's one of my talking points. I'm like, oh, the point guard. By the way, not to be morbid, they had a top 50 point guard committed to UNLV, a great get, a local kid. I shouldn't even do this because now I'm bringing down the whole mood of the podcast. He's a local kid. I don't know if you saw this. He was driving like an asshole about 2 weeks ago, freaking T-boned a guy on the southwest side of town and killed him.
Wow.
He was driving 88 and a 35. So point guard, 4-year guy, gone. The program separated from him the other day. So
yeah, that sucks.
That will not be part of my whine down the road about a lack of point guards. So
yeah.
That one's the story there is the poor 52-year-old dude who's out, getting a piece of cake or something. And now he's gone. And then you get these show killers. Sorry. I was on a UNLV point guard thing, and it just yeah.
By the way, put up Brady's you have a girlfriend? Is the SO okay with that?
I know, right? I reference both of them. Hey, folks, it's a crazy world now. It's a crazy world, man.
If anyone's gonna have two pieces of action, Steve, I'm looking at the guy who'd be it.
Always juggling. I don't know who's coming after me. Make sure they come after me, not her. That's all. Just protecting her. The mean world out there.
Yeah.
Mean world out there.
Strong.
I have no segue back to this, but I do want to mention it real quick. Man, I love the story because it's so typical for what's happened this whole time. DJT will turn on anyone when he feels you're useless or you've burned him. Trump will turn on anyone. And this story this week of Trump going at Mike Pence saying, "Do you want to be known as a patriot or a pussy?" is so great. And it's the word. It's the word. That's the thing. It's the word. And I started thinking about it. I really don't use the word pussy. I don't use it to reference someone being wimpy. I have never as an adult mentioned a woman's pussy.
That one.
Like, yeah, I've never understood guys who were like, man, I guess you could say I'm going out to get some pussy. But like there are guys, I don't do this. I've never done this. There are guys who like to brag about their conquest. I've never understood, like, man, you got to see the pussy on this broad.
Yeah, that's not a road that a father of two daughters is headed down.
That's a good point. Is it a word like from the past? Is that why whatever he is, 74-year-old DJT is because he not only called Mike Pence a pussy, but he also talked about grabbing them in their pussy.
Yeah,
grabbing them. Was it by the pussy, like it was an appendage?
It would seem to be a favorite. You know, it would seem to be one that is taken out of the holster on a regular basis.
Do you have friends who use cuss words where you're like, it was kind of
I
way
got,
back?
I got one of them. He's usually on here too. Who he's like runs around with us. Well, my buddy Arch won't. He doesn't go there very often, right?
Sorry, on the 78 Trans Am, I just came up with the next guy who probably uses the word pussy, and that's Jim Tom Sula. Because Jim Tom Sula is always the guy with the jacket open, the chain, kind of fluffy hair. He's driving the Trans Am, and he's like, "Yeah, we're out for pussy."
Yeah. The delivery. I was never that guy. Again, being the growing up a single parent, just mom. That was not like part of the lexicon, right? What wasn't going to be where I was going, but like there is. For being a guy who will embrace the profanity like I will, I seem to have a fairly large amount of friends that won't go there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My buddy Kurt, like he is Mr. Text a reaction to everything. And he'll be, these, these effing. There's a lot of effing. It's like, dude, it's just me on the other end. You're okay. Like you can go ahead and, deliver it. I don't know if you ever went to Sunday school thinking it's just as bad as saying it. All right. So think about that.
Brady said your impression kind of sounds like Koken. I mean, Koken was a player in the 70s and 80s, and I could see him using the word. Just weird. It's just weird.
It is one that was. Yeah, I think it's becoming dated. I think that's a fair assessment.
It's on the comeback.
Hey, with you? You're going to single-handedly bring it back?
No, you know what? Who knows? Maybe Eric Trump and DJ TJ will be all over it. Maybe they use that word as well. I don't know. Yeah. But it's weird. And then CNN was like, they were so giddy. I was watching a little bit last night, and it was like Don Lemon's. It's like this big lead up. Like you were talking earlier about not pointing attention.
Right.
Nothing, like they wanted to point attention. Like, what a crass human being. And Don Lemon was like, pussy. Like, it was, like he tried to act like, Don, calm down. All the women, who does the morning news? It's like John Berman. There were 3 other women on there. I think it's like Allison Camerata and 2 guests. And like, it was basically a moment where like, is Berman going to say it in front of 3 women? And he did this big lead up and he's like, blah, 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 P word. I'm like, come on, do it. Part of the story.
I like the look out. I'm going to say it. Here it comes. Get ready. Here it is. Settle down, Skippy.
Yeah, we should mention you worked with Koken back in the day. At Sports Fan, he had the nice boots. He had the Vidal Sassoon jeans. He wore
Kango. He was Kango before Kango was cool.
Yeah. He wore a sweat. He wore. He wore, and he would wear.
I didn't even think that was that good, but I'll take it.
It was good. Well, I just heard. I think it's Barbara Mandrell doing the. I was country before country.
Yeah, right.
And Koken would finish off the Vidal Sassoons, the designer boots, the expensive Kangol with a cashmere sweater V-neck with nothing underneath and some chains, and just Paco Rabanne just wafting throughout.
In fact, I think the first guy I may have met at Sports Fan was Koken. I'm like, oh shit, I'm in Vegas, man.
Oh yeah, he's so
Koken is Vegas. He is Vegas to the core.
Smoking, freaking 2 packs a day since he was 12.
Dave Koken.
Gambling hard, never married, has always been single. He's a friggin' idol. But anyway, who brought it up? The happy birthday. Oh, Cameron. Thank you, Cameron. Yeah. Koken, I think is its birthday today or tomorrow. He's 68. Can you believe that?
After some thought as to how long ago it was I moved to Vegas, yes, I can.
I know, right? But think about it.
Possible, but
when we first met him, I mean, you were a couple of years after I was at Sports Fan. When you first met him, he was like 46 years old.
Right.
All right.
A little younger than us now, right? It's like, oh shit, man. Look at this old time Vegas classic right here. That was our mindset. 24, don't know shit. Look at this classic. This guy's a Vegas classic.
I thought he was sold. All right, well, let's get to one of the leads of the show today. Eric Bieniemy. Let's see. I'll read you a tweet from this morning. This is from Matt Miller, who covers the draft in the NFL. Said, been texting with an NFL source this morning who thinks there's a very strong chance Eric Bieniemy isn't hired for a head coaching opportunity this cycle. I don't know if you saw this one, but this may be something to build on tomorrow on your show. The source, the NFL source, cites concern about Andy Reid's coaching tree and the timing with the Chiefs' expected run to make another Super Bowl. Wouldn't that mean that every coach, coordinator who's on a Super Bowl team would be basically unhireable, if that's a word, and would be out of the running on jobs?
I think there is, and listen, this is what I've said on my show about this that I think is going to be important for the NFL. I think at some point there has to be, in an era where we're trying to get more coaches of color into head coaching positions, right? And we all know first is get him into – one of the things I talked about is like, hey, he's not a quarterback coach. And most guys that are getting hired, Curtis looked it up, just in the AFC, 15 of the six – or no, I'm sorry. In the entire NFL, there are 15 coaches that came up on the offensive side of the ball, and all 15 of them either played quarterback or coached the quarterback position, right? And so Eric Bieniemy's a running back by trade. There are a number of reasons. We've talked about some of the problems, which has now become much more public after, of course, we not exposed it, but talked about it, something that people don't want to talk about. But his issues at Colorado, both as a player and then as a young coach, are a part of the equation. The fact that he doesn't call plays are a part of the equation. I think, and it's why I brought it up, the fact that he did not play or ever coach the quarterback position is a part of the equation. Right, but none of it all brings it together. But at a time that you're trying to promote, get more coaches of color ready to be head coaches, I believe it's fine if Eric Bieniemy's not hired, if you explain why he wasn't hired. Right, if there are real reasons not to hire Eric Bieniemy, his resume says he's ready. I believe that over the last 3 years he has matured to where I know he can handle the media. Right, which was something 2 years ago he couldn't do. He was a shit show when it came to answering the questions, which showed he wasn't ready to think on his feet and handle a group of people that were going to hit him with things that he wasn't sure what was coming. Now he's got the experience. He's better at knowing what's probably coming his way, and he's better at handling it all. Right, so I think he's now ready to be a head coach. But to me, if you're serious about getting more black coaches, more coaches of color, Robert Saleh. If you're serious about that, then you need to let all the other young coaches out there know why this guy didn't get it so they can avoid those pratfalls. I gave the example. If you got a guy who's like a hotshot running backs coach and he's a recruiting coordinator in college, and his goal is to be a head coach in the NFL, and what he's sitting there saying is, okay, I'm going to be the next Eric Bieniemy, but Bieniemy can't get the job. If the problem is he's never coached the quarterback position and the league has become all about quarterbacks, which it largely has, and you don't think he's qualified to really develop the quarterback. You think Andy Reid did that. You think, Matt Nagy did that. You think Mike Kafka's now doing it and Eric Bieniemy's somewhat along for the ride. Then you need to say that so that a coach who's coaching running backs right now can say, you know what, I'm going to walk away from this job and I'm going to go start coaching the quarterback position. So I have the qualifications that people want for me to be a head coach. I think the NFL, if they're serious about getting minority coaches hired, have to explain why Eric Bieniemy didn't get it. And I'll tell you the other thing that's real is Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel didn't get a head coaching job for years, right? They were coaching Super Bowl champ after Super Bowl champ, and it wasn't until they quit going to the Super Bowl that they finally got head coaching jobs. Now, neither one of them has succeeded, but there's no doubt that their resumes warranted them getting jobs before they got it. Matt Patricia warranted getting a job before he finally got it. Josh McDaniels got a job, now has been offered jobs, hasn't taken it, but he warrants a job, right? His resume says he should get a job. So I think there are real reasons there. I think the Super Bowl thing is real. Like, you want to get going on your program, you want to get going on what you're doing, but why hasn't anybody been hired yet? Right? If it's like, okay, we only want the guys on the winning teams, then it's worth the wait for the Super Bowl. And you're talking to his agent. If he killed it in the interview, then you can talk to his agent, hammer out the deal, and then announce it when the team's done playing. So, I think there are real reasons to not hire Eric Bieniemy, but I think what those real reasons are have to be brought to the forefront and out in public for the greater good of the coaching community so they can know, okay, this is what I can't do.
Yeah, if it's the reason, I think, and I believe that's a big part of it, and it's been going on for a couple of years. I don't understand why Eric Bieniemy or people around him haven't told him, dude, you got to be proactive. Get out in front of this. You're the one who needs to explain what happened. Why isn't he talking about it?
Because they don't let him out. That's part of the Andy Reid approach. You know, he is brought now, particularly in the Zoom approach, no more than one question, right? Nobody gets more than one question with him, and it's a total of about 7 or 8 minutes. And so we rambled through maybe 6 to 8 questions with him. I mean, look at there's my notebook here. See the last time he was up. Now I just changed notebooks. And see the last time he was up, and I'll tell you exactly how many questions he answered. Here, Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy went 5 minutes. The last question was asked of Eric Bieniemy 5 minutes and 51 seconds into him being made available. He was asked 2, 4, 6, 2 of them by me. I squeezed in a follow-up. I said, hang on, I got a follow-up for this. And he was asked 6 total questions, and he was probably done in 6.5 minutes. So if you've got a game story to write, if you've got things going on, any time to get into any depth, like I believe that Eric Bieniemy should be made available for 30 minutes every week. And I think the NFL could go a long way towards having transparency if not only did you make the coordinators available every week, but you made them available for a minimum amount of time. And that's one of the things they don't do. Bieniemy, Steve Spagnuolo began the answer to his last question, his 6th, 4 minutes and 57 seconds into his time. Right? I mean, how do you get to know, like publicly, there's no transparency. Jeff Long, the athletic director at Kansas, which you don't need to talk to every time, that same day had a Zoom, and he began his last answer 30 minutes and 35 seconds into it. Mike Matheny of the Kansas City Royals began his last answer. Was that the same day? God, I was busy that day, huh? Mike Matheny began his last answer 27 minutes and 13 seconds into it. You have to prioritize letting people get to know these guys. And listen, it's why, like, when he didn't get it that first year, because I think Matt Nagy was only 1 year as the OC, right behind Peterson. And then he got the job. So there was a feeling that, okay, Bieniemy be next. They went to the AFC Championship game. Mahomes, 5,015 MVP. He gets the job right away. And you and I talked about it. I'm like, listen, he's not good handling the press interviews. How can he be great handling the owner interviews? And there's a lot of reports now that, no, he's not great in the interviews, right? To which, Bob Glauber from New York Newsday, who I talked to a lot, said, look, Tony Dungy had 17 or 18 interviews before he finally got a job, and he was not a good interviewer. And that's a reason, if you're not comfortable with a guy, you're like, I don't like his answers. That's a reason not to hire him. It doesn't make the owners racist. But if you consistently don't hire black coaches and don't give the reasons why you're not hiring them, then you're left with no other conclusion but the fact that you're racist.
Well, there's a lot here. I mean, there's been plenty of white coaches who sound like mouth breathers, who can't do interviews, or not good with the media.
How could Adam Gase have won any interview ever, and he's been a head coach twice?
Because he's white. That he has a leg up. And I know people get upset with the, systemic racism in whatever area we're talking about. But going back to what you said, hey, the trend now is, a lot of the head coaches and OCs, well, they played quarterback. Well, you can't fucking go back and play quarterback. The guy's 48 years old, whatever he is. He played running back. If you've got a position that traditionally didn't allow blacks to play quarterback in the NFL, or they weren't interested until like the last 10 years, well, then how do we make up for that time? Yeah, like, okay, then Byron Leftwich should be a peach of a candidate. So let's see if he gets hired. I mean, it's just, it all builds on itself.
I think he will be soon if Tom Brady endorses him. Curtis looked it up. There's one offensive coordinator that's black, and there's one, the Colts, and I forget his name, and I apologize for that. The Colts quarterback's coach is black. That's it. So that was my point.
Pep Hamilton with the Chargers, who worked with Justin Herbert, African-American, and he worked with the Colts. So
he's with the Colts now?
No, he was with the Chargers. He got fired, with the firing of Anthony Lynn. Now he's a free agent.
And I blame Curtis, jackass.
Curtis is an idiot.
I'll kick his ass tomorrow. Anyway, but the point is there's not many. And if that is the path to being a head coach on the offensive side of the ball, and frankly, I think it should be, I would not hire if I were an owner. There's no way I would hire. You would have to win by 30 links in an interview process for me to hire a defensive guy. 30 links.
By the way, Gerard Mayo is getting interviews. He got an interview. He's a young guy too. He got an interview today, I think, with the Eagles. So the former Patriots defensive player.
Yeah, I mean, I would never, because when, like, let's watch the Bills. Let's see what happens with the Bills, and let's see what happens. Who's the other one that's got a the Dolphins, right? Like, if somebody, and we'll talk about Tua in a minute, but if they get Tua right, and then the OC moves on, and it all goes to shit, you're making a change, right? Like when Brian Daboll gets a job, which I guarantee he will. And by the way, when he was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs for a couple of years, during some dark times, by the way, when he was having to coach, I think he had Tyler Thigpen on his watch at quarterback. I said, look, I think Brian Daboll is going to be a head coach. Like, and talking to him, that's back when I could talk to the assistant coaches one-on-one. And I was like, I think he's going to be a head coach. I like what Brian Daboll, he's got the Patriots, stink on him. Now, then, of course, he goes and picks up some Nick Saban stink. He's going to be there. But let's see the Bills. Do they keep cranking it? Is it going well? Or does Josh Allen get an OC that sucks and get pissy and then get sideways? McDermott's got to back his coach, and then you're sideways with the quarterback. Like, if you get an offensive head coach, you get that right, and you get the quarterback right, that's a marriage that'll last forever.
Right.
Like John Harbaugh's got to kind of reinvent the offense every time his OC goes someplace else.
Brian Schottenheimer Jets. My top choices are Little Shoddy, Dan Mullen, and Jason Garrett. So I'm all in.
You like Brian Schottenheimer?
No, I don't like any of those fucking guys. No, I don't want any of them. No. No, stop.
Who was in between Garrett and Schottenheimer?
Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen from Florida. Who I know he has a rep as a good coach, but he's a knucklehead.
Oh, Dan Mullen in New York.
Oh my God! With the media, he'd get baited so easily.
I mean, you got to at least let the country get vaccinated, however long that takes before you hire Dan Mullen. Because if he comes in there with his COVID takes in New York City, they're going to shit in his ear. I mean, it will not go well. That will not go well. You're talking about a guy who's like, we need a full swamp. We need 90,000 people at the swamp. And then promptly had like 40 guys test positive. Like, that's not going to fly in New York, where they actually take the virus serious.
This would be an interesting
what about Doug Peterson to the Jets?
Might happen.
It might happen, or would you be on board? Who's your guy? Name your candidate, Steve. You puss.
Brian Daboll.
Really? Okay.
I don't think I could deal with an Herb Meyer regime in New York. And Robert Saleh. I think he'd be a guy. He'd be a nice guy to bring in.
I think one thing I will tell you from having had a 5-minute interview, it's the only time I've talked to him, 5-minute interview with Urban Meyer at the American Century Championships in Lake Tahoe, right before the shit hit the fan down there at Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, literally like 2 days later, the shit hit the fan at Big Ten Media Day. Just kiss his ass and he'll tell you good questions.
Right. I mean, would I take Urban Meyer over Jason Garrett? Probably.
Jason Garrett. Who would hire Jason Garrett?
He's gotten multiple interviews, and
I know it's
Chargers were the first team to interview, and I'm like, all right, someone's doing a favor to Garrett and company, and then the Jets talked to him. It's like, what are we doing?
It's like he's a fine. I'm sure he's a solid football guy, right? But literally, if you hire Jason Garrett over Eric Bieniemy, that's bullshit.
That's outrageous. Yeah, that's totally outrageous.
Because
that's when we talk about systemic racism. When whites get to turn around immediately, Garrett a year removed. But if Peterson's getting interviews, how many interviews is Anthony Lynn getting? Because Anthony Lynn is essentially Garrett. They're bad in late game situations.
The difference is the quarterback thing.
Their special teams are not good.
Right.
And like I said, the game management thing, and they're also way too conservative. Anthony Lynn, just like Jason Garrett, loves to stall the offense at the 34-yard line. He's like, both of them, 52-yarder, 55-yarder, yeah. Like, no, not anymore. Not 2021 NFL. Go for it. Be aggressive. I don't care how good your kicker is. Stop with the freaking 48 to 61-yard attempts.
Listen, Eric Bieniemy, just off their ceiling, right? Like, there's a lot of ceiling. Like, if you haven't coached, and I tried to explain this, and somebody goes, "You're a jackass." I was like, well, I mean, yes, that's been proven for years, but it has nothing to do with my point I'm making here about coaches. If you've never been hired, you don't know what the ceiling is. And I will tell you, Eric Bieniemy, the players do love playing for Bieniemy. Like, players love playing for Andy Reid. They love playing for Bieniemy, and that does mean something, right? He has the playbook from Andy Reid. Like, I think Andy Reid's success is the offseason, right? I think Andy Reid gets more out of from whenever his team plays its last game to when it plays its first game than anybody out there. I think he kicks ass all his time when it's just him and his coaches. He kicks ass in the OTAs and minicamp. He kicks ass in training camp, and he gets into the season, and then he knows what's important, because like he's always coaching a good team that plays a bunch of primetime games, which makes for the odd week. Like he doesn't just get in a rhythm of we're playing for you 10A, for us noon, East Coast 1P game. We're playing the 1P every Sunday, right? Like, that's a rhythm. He can go. We're playing Thursday, and then we're playing a Monday, and we're playing a Saturday, and we got the 325, and we got he's got the formula on what the routine is. And I do think that that's a big part of the success of Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy, and whoever's talking about the Andy Reid coaching tree not being good. John Harbaugh, Doug Peterson's got a Super Bowl. John Harbaugh's got a Super Bowl. Up your ass. You don't know what you're talking about if you don't think his coaching tree's good. Matt Nagy has Mitchell Trubisky, and he's been in the playoffs 2 times in 3 years. Like, that means something. Like, I'm here to tell you that it's quite possible, and we'll see what Bill Belichick does, but it's quite possible. The only difference between Bill Belichick and Marty Schottenheimer is Tom Brady. Right? Let me see Bill Belichick go win another championship, and we'll see what it is. Bottom line is, Eric Bieniemy's going to bring a large part of the playbook there. Eric Bieniemy's going to be a guy that they want to play for. And, I would want to know who his staff is. Like, if I'm sitting there and I'm any one of those teams, and I'm talking to these guys, and I've interviewed, I've had one-on-one conversations with Brian Daboll. I've had, a little bit of one. I've had Eric Bieniemy once, but I've asked a lot of questions of him in his coordinator times. I've been around him. And I'm going to tell you, I'm fine with either one of those guys getting the job. But Eric Bieniemy is absolutely every bit as qualified to be a head coach as Brian Daboll, because they're going to run through a wall for Eric Bieniemy before they'll run through a wall for Brian Daboll. Then while X's and O's and actually schematics and that kind of thing, being able to game plan, that's all more important. But there is still an element of football where you're asking guys to go run into other large men. All right. And if you can ask him to do it at a faster pace than the other guy, that makes you a better coach. And Eric Bieniemy has that within him.
Brady says, what's the difference between 4 straight NFC losses, Reid, and today's Reid? Just player talent?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Period. End of discussion. Everyone's going to be better with the quarterback. Period. End of discussion. Remember, where's the – hang on. Andy Reid can't manage the clock? Who's saying that shit now? 2018 AFC Championship game, down 3, 31 seconds, 1 timeout. Field goal to tie it. Nobody's mentioning it. Under 7 minutes to go, down 10 in the Super Bowl, win by 11 points. Nobody's mentioning his game management there. Against the Raiders, 143 and 1 timeout, down 3, wins by 4. Like, oh, where'd the clock management go? Let me tell you the key to fucking clock management. Get a Hall of Fame quarterback. That is how you manage the clock in the NFL.
A bunch of comments here. I want to go back to Garrett for a second. This is another problem in the NFL. The nepotism and the cronyism, the friendships. Jason Garrett's dad was in the NFL. John was a coach in the NFL. I don't know, what is Eric Bieniemy's background? Was his dad a coach somewhere? It's just like once you get in, and then you're a legacy guy, like Nathaniel Hackett, maybe a great head coach someday. His dad was Paul. I mean, you start to look, you're like, my God, that's right. His dad's a coach. His dad was a coach. Like, there's just a legacy. There are legacy guys who just continue to get jobs.
The systemic racism part of the equation is what I think people don't want to talk about, and why, the reality is the reality that people on the side that have been part of it or have just looked the other way from it don't want to hear is that, no, you screwed a lot of people for a lot of years and you can't fix it with one march. Okay, you can't fix it with the I'm woke to like this was wrong, right? Like I'm glad you're on board.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're coming around, but like that doesn't mean that the journey's over. And it's the same thing. Like when you didn't let black guys play quarterback, they didn't get that which was our point of doing the research on how many guys have quarterback or quarterback coaching experience. You've closed the most important part of the equation to them getting the job. Byron Leftwich was one of what was, starting to become more black quarterbacks, but still it was notable he was a black quarterback, right? That was still a notable thing. And you talk about the nepotism. I mean, we had a Super Bowl, 10 years ago where we had Lovie Smith against Tony Dungy. And who was the last, since that Super Bowl, who was the next black coach to be in the Super Bowl?
Who?
I don't know. I'm thinking it's none, right?
I don't know.
Because neither one of them went back.
Yeah. Research people in the chat room. Do it, please.
We've had Ron Rivera, as far as a minority coach, take the Panthers there off of 15-1 season, right? The black quarterbacks certainly become much more commonplace. But, I've said one of the things is we went through and we're looking up how many backup quarterbacks. I said, look, the guys who make $200 million at the quarterback spot probably aren't going to coach.
Right.
They're going to do a cush job like being an announcer. If they want to stay around the game, they're going to be an announcer, but they're not logging.
This is great. This is great. You're right. How many African-American backup quarterbacks are there? How many get to stay?
There was more when we did this a couple of years ago. There was more than I thought, but it's still a low number.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, you're a black quarterback. If you're a rock star, you're on board. We'll go with you. But like, if you're like, well, we can find this other white guy over here to do it. Like, those are the guys, the backup quarterbacks. Doug Peterson, right? And even the small school black quarterback. How many times when you put on a MAC game do you see black quarterbacks? More now than in the past. How many 1AA games? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But like, that's where a lot of these guys came from. Sean Payton from Eastern Illinois, Matt Nagy from Delaware. A lot of these guys played the position at the smaller level. And so until those positions are filled, then they're not getting what is basically the job training necessary to be a head coach. And so it's not going to be solved. It's been a problem for a long time, and it can't be solved overnight.
And that is the definition of systemic.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
You just went up and down the line and explained all the opportunities that aren't there to develop into what they're looking for. So,
well, I love, Lilsford says wait 5 years. I mean, I wish it was 5. I think wait 20. Right? Like like the nepotism. You can't have nepotism until some black coaches have been in the league. We're getting first generation black coaches nowadays. Eric Bieniemy's kid has a chance to benefit from nepotism. Eric Bieniemy did not.
So I was doing a real quick scan of backup quarterbacks in the league. People of color.
Mm-hmm.
I found 2 so far.
Well, you'll find like we were talking about second and third. You're like Josh Dobbs.
I'm looking at the whole quarterback room.
Yeah, it's definitely low. There's way more starters than there are backups. And most teams, what would say 2.5 on average? Some teams carry 2. The Chiefs carry 2, right? But back in the day, it used to be everybody had 3. But you would think that there should be just as many backups as there are starters, and I'll bet there's less backups. There should be more backups for the teams that carry 3, and I'll bet you there's less backups than there are starters.
I found 11.
Okay.
11 out of roughly 36. I mean, there's some teams that have – this is a RotoWire depth chart, so there's some teams that have 4, but 11.
There's some that have 2. Chiefs only have 2.
I'm seeing if they have a third one listed for the Chiefs. They do.
Who do they have? Well, Matt Moore is on the practice squad. If you're looking at RotoWire, he's technically on the practice squad.
They have Anthony Gordon listed.
A quarterback for the Chiefs? They were just messing around with Jordan Ta'amu again. They released him today for Garrett Dieter, but maybe I'm stupid or something. I don't know. Let me look at something. I'm not saying I'd look at every shit that happens anymore.
Let's see some other comments here real quick. Someone was joking earlier on Anthony Lynn. They were like, I thought he had a defensive background because he's so conservative. No, that's not the case. And here's the crazy thing. On the whole coordinator deal, here's what I'm seeing. Now, Anthony Lynn was mentioned as this was just a story making suggestions about who should be OCs around the league. I did think it was interesting that there was someone who covers the Dolphins who was like, you know what, Anthony Lynn should be the OC for the Dolphins. I'm like, I don't know. But on the flip side, Shane Steichen, who was the OC for the Chargers, apparently he might be on the Charger or the Seahawks list. So, like, I don't even know how guys are judged. Like, well, they didn't have the right talent. The head coach kept them down. So,
I think there is a time to where, like, I always say, if not him, then who? Like, you want to fire somebody, if not him, then who? But when the fan base says anybody, he's got to go. Like, when they're like, I'm done with this guy, he's got to go. And that's where the Chargers were with Anthony Lynn. There was no way to keep Anthony Lynn. And when you fire him, you fire the whole staff.
All right. So as Steve says, 11 out of 36 is a greater percentage than the population.
No, not the population percentage of those who play the game.
So you have to judge it off the NFL with the players. That's a good point. Yeah.
And listen, I'm not trying to like
kind of a specialized field, the NFL.
It is, and it's different traits, playing versus coaching. So I'm not saying that it needs to be 74% or whatever the player side of it is, but it definitely needs to be higher. And so, like, comments like this, like, oh, bullshit. It's low. Okay, yeah. When you think we're close, call for a vote. Are we at enough? I don't give a shit what the right amount is for enough. I know we're not there now. So I don't need to worry about what's enough. I'll worry about what's enough when there's plenty coming through.
By the way, one of the dumbest jokes that continues. Charger fan base, that's funny. I live with a Charger fan, and I know lots of Charger fans, and there are lots of Charger fans here in Las Vegas. So.
Are there really?
Yeah, they're here. Go read it. Go read a Chargers message board. They're they're fucking psycho and intense as everyone else. They were calling for Anthony Lynn to go bye-bye for weeks. Also, whatever you want to call her, my mate was at one of the local sports apparel shops the other day.
Do you guys mate on a regular basis?
Yes. Could the guy who owned the store is like, we cannot keep Charger stuff, especially Justin Herbert, on the shelves. He's like, I couldn't do it all season. Herbert, like selling out. So
always the young hot quarterback's always a big one.
Yeah. There was a couple other things in here. God damn it. Where was it?
They look like empty seats. All the Charger fans.
Right. Well, that's gonna be a disaster. That stadium's way too big for the Charger fan base, and LA's not.
So then the fan base, wait a minute. The stadium can't be too big, and there'd be Charger fans everywhere.
85,000 is too big.
Not if there's Charger fans everywhere.
No. There are more Charger fans than you think.
Okay, I'll settle for that.
Now, the problem is Dean Spanos also drove the base number in San Diego to like 7 because they hate him. It's probably more than that, but there aren't many driving up the hour and a half to go to games anymore.
No, I know. They're going to get a team back in San Diego. All part of my plan to expand the NFL to 40 and the playoffs to 16.
40. Yikes.
Why?
There's not enough talent. I don't know.
Ass. That's I love that one. And Jeff Passan threw that at me. I said, baseball should expand to 40. He's like, what are you talking about? There's not enough pitching now. I'm like, and what do you give a shit? Mike Trout's maybe the greatest player that ever played the game. And on a list of the world's greatest, most notable or important athletes, he didn't even make the list.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit if he feasts on bad pitching and hits 60 home runs? Maybe your sport would be relevant again.
I would argue the NFL will be stretching it a little bit. The NBA and baseball can absolutely expand because they are truly world sports.
Well, and it's not.
They are truly international sports that pulls from the entire earth.
You don't go to 40 tomorrow. You don't go
right.
to 40 tomorrow. You expand over time, but that should be the goal. And the owners are dipshits if they don't do it. It's $2 or $3 billion each time they expand. Pull your head out of your ass.
By the way, this is also stupid. LA fans are the worst in the country, hands down. Who leads baseball in attendance every year?
Royals.
No, it's the Dodgers. Every year.
They do have a large population base.
How do you grade who are good fans and bad fans? If they show up, if they're intense, does anyone want to argue that the Giants and Dodgers rivalry maybe a little too intense since they're fucking killing each other in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So let's cut it out with the California
Raiders, Niners. That's a fun one.
Yeah,
it was.
We'll see on this one. Vegas fans are the worst. Wait until the Golden Knights are 500. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
It will be interesting.
Oh God, this is stupid too.
Is anybody liking the PHX fans? Phoenix? Are they kicking ass?
Right. Have you been to Dodger Stadium?
No, I have not.
Okay. This joke is always great. When sure, if you count the Dodger fans showing up in the 4th and leaving in the 8th, have you ever tried to get to Dodger Stadium driving? Because that's the only way, or take a bus. There's no other like swift public transportation to get there. It is a living hell around downtown LA and Chavez Ravine to drive to games. I'm telling you, I grew up in the New Jersey, New York area, and like I thought I knew traffic. I go to LA and I'm like, this is too much for me.
Oh, I can't do it. I've been fortunate enough to go to LA like every year for a number of years for an event for my daughter. But it like I'm there with a vacation mindset. Like I don't give a shit when I get there. So, but like if I had to deal with it every day, oh no, God, no. Eject.
This is a good statement. Fans complaining about other fans are the worst. So, but you know who's even worse? You know who's even worse? Fans that root at the end of the year for other teams in their own conference. SEC, SEC, SEC. As Vanderbilt fans are like, yay, Alabama. What? I saw a fucking LSU fan doing it on the night of the title game. Like, are you crazy?
Steve, it means more.
AFC West, AFC West, AFC West. Raider fans in Vegas and Raider Nation are like, please, Chiefs, we split with you. I mean, that's a badge of honor if you go on to win the title. No, it's not.
Are they rooting for the Chiefs?
No, that's insane. Raiders fans hate the freaking Chiefs. They hate the Broncos. They sort of care about the Chargers. SEC, SEC. Shut up. Please, enough. This is dumb.
I will tell you that, like, having been down to what they call the Redneck Riviera, which is Orange Beach, Alabama. You go out to like my wife's family likes to go down there. Like that was their trip that they could do. She was one of 6, and so they could pack everybody into the car and go trucking down there. Drive it down 13 hours or something, and be out on the beach. And it's nice. It's fine. It's not the crystal blue water of Florida because you're a little closer to where the Mississippi empties out into it.
Sure, the oil spills are still quite residual.
But
thanks, BP.
Everybody out there, like they bring their LSU tent, their Alabama tent, their Arkansas tent. Like they're no joke, man. I mean,
oh no, I'm not saying
they're into it.
The fans of those schools individually are cool, but when I see them all gang up at the end of the year and they're like, yeah, let's tip a cup to Alabama and the SEC. What are you doing?
Well, if you take Alabama out, they look largely like the ACC.
Well, they did this year because they had 4 good teams, and the rest of the teams and schools are in transition with a new coach, a guy going downhill like Ed Orgeron. So it's a great conference. It produces great players. That whole fan thing just drives me nuts. I will tell you, and listen, Rutgers is new to the Big Ten, and I really like where I come from has nothing to do with most of the rest of the conference. Jersey ain't like Iowa. It ain't like Wisconsin, Minnesota. It's not. So there's differences there, but you will never see me. Like I was rooting for Ohio State on Monday. You know why? Because I bet them in game, but I'm never rooting for Ohio State. That was betting on the lesser of two evils and where I thought the value was in game. But I will never look at it like, oh, they're going to help the Rutgers recruiting. Like they're not going to help shit.
I think
in fact, it's the way, if I were in the SEC, I look at it like Alabama winning. If I'm an LSU fan or a Florida fan, like, fuck, we got to recruit against them. Now they've got another leg up. Like that. Why would you root for another team in the conference?
I agree. I was up in Iowa yesterday. I was in Iowa City, where the University of Iowa is. Yeah. And Iowa and Iowa State fans, I think, are some of the – I think the Iowa fans for both schools are phenomenal fans. They're unreal, passionate, love their school, wearing the colors, supporting it. But, like, you still don't see when you roll around like it's all Iowa, it's all black and gold everywhere. Like in the SEC, it is all purple and yellow around LSU. It is all, Alabama or Auburn shit when you roll into the state of Alabama. I mean, it still is just different, man. It is.
I've heard this. The Grove is Ole Miss, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Ole Miss? Yeah. You got to go tailgate in the Grove. I won't ever. I also will never spend $1 ever if I don't have to in the state of Mississippi. There's a lot of states at this point, I'm like, I will never go there. I will never contribute to the economy. It sucks for the people on the ground, but
I don't think they're worried whether or not you're coming, Steve.
My pennies, but that's my little protest, so I can protest the way I want.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I've tailgated at Tennessee and Michigan, right when Syracuse played at Tennessee and at Michigan way back in the day.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that the Tennessee, like the Michigan one was fun because they got like a golf course right next to the big house where they let you park. And then they put up like volleyball nets and everything. And so we had a good time. Fans were really good. I have no complaints about Michigan fans. Till after the game, we beat them. Donovan McNabb stuck it in Tom Brady's ass. And then I had some guy tell me I was going to work for him one day. You're going to Michigan, not Harvard, assholes. Settle down. But when I went to Tennessee, those people, that was awesome. We're walking wearing our Syracuse gear. And they're like, hey, Syracuse, what are you doing? You want a drink? You want something to eat? Whatever. Like, we got invited to everybody's tailgate. And they're all, they're wearing their slacks, and their button downs. And
yeah,
like that Tennessee tailgate was awesome. Like that Tennessee pregame was awesome. Watch the river walk. Watch the Vol Army or Vol Navy pull up on the river and park in the boats. I mean, it was. I'm like, wow, this is some shit here.
Oh, it's big. It's big time, and I will never. When I see kids choose to go to the SEC, I get it. I mean, it's inspiring. Everyone does it pretty big, and except Vandy. Poor Vandy. I went to Vandy last year, and I was like, holy shit! There were 7,000 people there. I'm like, SEC. These guys are struggling.
There should be a trade: Vandy for Clemson, and like Florida State for. Is there one other one? No, maybe Vandy for Clemson's it. Like Vanderbilt looks like an ACC school, and Clemson looks like an SEC school.
And academically, Vandy would be a much better match to the ACC. It's certainly it's a very, very much an outlier in the SEC. So, so where I was going, I just wanted to mention real quick. When I sent out the tweet for this podcast, I just said Saban overrated. Right? It was sort of like I should have put the question mark. We can bang on the SEC a little bit, but Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach ever. I don't even want to hear an argument about guys in the 50s and 60s when they absolutely could cheat more. There weren't as many players to go around, so they could hoard most of the players. Players back then were scared shitless, so they didn't transfer. It's harder now to keep a second quarterback on your roster for more than 6 friggin' months. What Saban is dealing with, and he's built it. He's got certain advantages now, but he's been part of it. But what they deal with now as coaches is much harder than the Powers had to deal with in, say, the 60s and 70s.
Is it? Or does the fact that, because one of his championships, he got into the playoffs as the 4 seed. So as the number 4 team, he wouldn't have been in it for a national championship back in the old days.
It's a good touche. It was rigged even more back in the day.
But there's another one where he was the 1 seed and he didn't win in the playoffs. So theoretically, he got a tougher opponent. So I think he's probably right about. I think it's smiled on him once, and I think it's shit on him once. Okay. Right? I think he's probably right about where he deserves. I think he is the best ever because I keep waiting for like Pete Carroll. People thought this was going to be Pete Carroll at USC. And at the end, like he'd come through his run and it geared down. Nick Saban never gears down.
Well, Nick Saban seemed to have fallen back just a little bit. And when people started saying it to him, like, oh, Dabo, he's right there with you. He's like, is that right? All right, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I wish he would say it. I wish he would say it that way. Like, okay.
Think about this. He's been at Alabama for 14 years.
Yep.
He's won 6 championships within 12 years. The second shortest span of winning 6 championships is 19 years by Alabama under Bear Bryant.
Right.
Okay. And think about for his whole career, he's won 7 championships in 19 years between LSU and Alabama. Right? At Michigan State, he was at Michigan State for 5 years and Toledo for 1. But in the last 19 years, he's won 7.
Yep.
Even throw in the other ones. He's 26 years as a coach and 7 championships. At Alabama, no one has ever been recruited by Nick Saban that walked away without a championship ring.
That's nuts.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like, I in some ways, I think once you got it up and running, the playoffs feed the beast more than the old system did. But, I mean, he's not like everyone complains like, oh, well, one-loss Alabama team. Well, I know they were undefeated this year, but he's gotten in there with 1 loss. So beat them when they get there. Teams don't beat them enough. Clemson was the only team that could beat them. Clemson wasn't good enough to get there and beat them.
I throw out a question on Monday's late night happy hour. If there are other schools who are mad about Saban and how much he's winning, why don't they just get him? How has this been allowed to happen? How can Auburn and Texas pay out tens of millions of dollars to buy guys out? Why don't they just go to Saban and don't go, oh, Nick, you're making because I think he officially passed 10 million this year with a bonus. He got up to like 10.4 million. Don't go at him and go, we'll give you 12. No, here you go. Here's 5 years and $90 million, $18 million a year. He comes back and he's like, no, all right, 5 years, 125. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, like whatever it takes. I've always said like some of the most, Nick Saban's underpaid at $9 million a year at Alabama. Bill Self is underpaid at $5 million at Kansas. I don't give a shit about the scale. I mean, I care about it, but it's irrelevant. Kansas, and he's got a contract that's going to come due here in a couple of years. They got to do whatever it takes to pay him. Those coaches are worth everything because you don't have a ready-made replacement. But you had to have been through it. Everyone's been through it, any kind of employment negotiation. I know I have. Somebody wants to talk to you. Oh, we want you. We want you. We want you. Like, how many times has somebody talked to you, said, we want you, we want you, we want you. And it's like, okay, let's do the deal. And then they want to nickel and dime your fucking ass about everything. Like, whoa, no. Whoa. I thought you were like, hey, I'm the guy and we're going to win and we got to have you. And I'm like, okay, well, I want this, this, and this. I want these people. I want that. Oh, well, no, we can't do that. Like, so what? Then why would I come here? And I think that happens with coaches. I think Texas really wanted Nick Saban like 3 or 4 years ago, and when he was making probably like 5 or 6 million, and Alabama went to 9. The answer should have been 15. You have the money. Like, there is no better investment that you can make. You're right. Like going and asking, hat in hand, hey, can you pay off my shitty hire here because we want to buy him out and get rid of him? I mean, it usually takes a booster to be like, this guy sucks. He's out. Whatever it takes. Here's the check.
Right.
How about, hey, that guy's great. He's the shit. Whatever it takes. Here's the check. I don't get it.
And as Brady said earlier, at a minimum, just play the game. It's gamesmanship. Hey, Clemson's all good, feeling good about Dabo Swinney. All right, how good do you feel? Now you're going to pay him 17. You fuck with the opposition. Make them pay him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whatever it is, like to me, the whole deal is when you get into that, when there's and we not at that money, obviously, at pennies, fractions of pennies on the dollar, but there's only so many jobs like ours in a town. And so like when you get them, you're like, okay, I got it, but like move to the next job. There's like, where are you going? Right? There's not like 7 different clothing lines or grocery lines or whatever it is you might do where it's like, hey, I always got something I can push it up. In coaching, like the only way you get a raise is to have somebody come ask you, hey, you interested? And that's why those guys, to me, they have agents who are always out there talking to somebody. Nick Saban's going to get a raise. And he should. He's underpaid.
Here's the running joke on Dabo, who a couple of years ago was like, man, the players get paid. I'm going to find something else to do. So Miller J is like, where's Dabo going after the players start getting paid? Yeah, we'll see.
Dabo,
he'll be turning back on that one quickly.
Man, does he step on his dick a lot.
Yep. Grinds my gears. So are you down on where college football is right now? The ratings weren't that great for the title game. A lot of people were up on social media. They're like, it's the same teams. It's boring. The system sucks. Expand the playoffs. I'm not watching. I don't like it.
Oh, I'm watching. I mean, and I'm fascinated by it. And I'm, on my watch, I love documenting the greatest coach. And like, I root for everything to be a record on my watch covering sports. Like I don't want to hear like John Wooden, Nick Saban win 10, right? If you're going to own this thing and they're not going to change the system, then win 10 or 11 so I can say fuck John Wooden. I covered Nick Saban.
Sure.
Right? Like I'm all for that, but I am for the greater good. Yes, but I think there's an obvious simple solution. Expand the playoffs.
But the teams that'll get in will just get their asses kicked.
No. And maybe initially, and this is why the big boys don't want it, the more they play, the better they'll get.
The more they make the playoff, the more hope there is.
Yes.
Opening the door for better recruits to go, you know what? Now Cincinnati can get in. Now Boise State can get in. Maybe now Coastal Carolina can get in. You know what? It's a more even fight. Right now, you look at it, you're like, well, fuck, man, I wanted to go to whatever, North Carolina. What's the friggin' point? I can't get in the Final Four. Got to go to Clemson.
All boats rise with the tide.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like Brady says, Cincinnati would lose by 80. Yeah, no, not 80.
I think he's being sarcastic.
To your point, they would lose big now. But once the door is open and they have a more regular chance to make it, it would suck some of the talent away from Alabama. Guys wouldn't be going and sitting behind somebody and then there as a junior. Like I know all the guys that are phenomenal and play 3 years and are done. God, that guy's been starting as a freshman. Not all their guards and all their centers are 3 and done.
Right.
There's some guys that are like junior, senior year. They step in and they were 5-star kids that waited 3 years. And if they're like, shit, man, since he's going regular, like especially if you go to 16 and you have all 10 leagues, automatics, and 6 wild cards, then that would spread some of the talent around, which I think would be good for college football.
Of course it would. Yep.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm tired of this. Like it's clear next year who's going to win it. Well, it's either going to be Alabama, Clemson. Listen, I pulled up. I
will push back on this. I don't buy that.
So who do you think's in it for next year?
So here's a bet.
How many times do we have to do this and you name some school that doesn't even get close before you go, okay, it's the handful of schools?
Forever, because I always believe someone can make it if the system is. I think the system will get.
Well, you're a crazy man, and I'm wasting my time to argue.
Well, I made a bet last night or 2 nights ago with John Von Tobel. So I just argued, hey, you know what? I don't think it's just 6 teams that can make the college football playoff. That's what he was saying. It's the same 6 teams, the same 5, and maybe there's a wild card. So he took for next year, he took Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. What the fuck? I have this all typed out and I just punched it up. Hold on.
All right, while you're looking, let me tell you something.
Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Miami. I took the rest of the country. So I have USC.
Oklahoma, Georgia, Clemson.
Yep. Ohio State.
Alabama, Ohio State, and Miami.
Yep.
Okay.
I have USC, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Florida, Iowa State, Cincinnati, Indiana, North Carolina, Oregon, and there's a couple other wild cards in there that could have a shot.
I'm not Jim.
I win the bet.
Really didn't beat anybody this year, so I'm not 100% convinced. But he should have covered his ass and taken A&M. But let me tell you something. What do you think? When was the last time that a team that won the national championship was ranked lower than 6 at any point in the season?
I'm sure you know. Give me the answer.
2015.
All right.
You know who it was?
No.
Alabama.
Okay.
So here are your national championships. Preseason rank Alabama this year. They were number 3. And when the playoff rankings came out, they were number 1. Okay?
Right.
2019, LSU. Preseason ranked number 6. That was their lowest ranking of the year, by the way. First playoff ranking, they were number 2. 2018, Clemson won it. Preseason ranked number 2. Lowest ranking in season, number 4. First playoff ranked number 2. 2017, Alabama won it. They were number 1 preseason. Number 5 was the lowest ranking of the year. They were number 2 when the playoff rankings came out. Clemson in 16, number 2 preseason, number 5 lowest rank in season, number 2 for the first playoff rank.
These are awesome. What was the last year
one more. Alabama, one more. Alabama number 3 in 15 preseason. 13 was their lowest rank in season. They were number 4 when the first playoff ranking came out, and they went on to win the championship as the 2 seed.
I'm looking forward. So what was the last year that the big schools were going to lose a lot of their good players? The next level schools are getting everyone back because eligibility was not expired the year before.
That's a great point, but that's a one-off. So like that
No, it's not. The next level teams are going to get older and older and older. You're still going to have juniors leave from the superpowers, but next year it's absolutely going to hit. And you also have the combination.
Next year it's going to hit because the pandemic kids that all have an extra year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other schools will be more veteran.
Yes,
but Alabama lost.
I'm not saying Alabama
wide receivers last year.
I'm not saying Alabama. And here's the other factor. Do we know who has a crystal ball? Uyunglele is awesome next year. Bryce Young for Alabama, awesome next year. Ohio State after Justin Fields, awesome at quarterback. Like you've also got the changeover at quarterback, and sometimes that next guy just ain't ready.
And throw in Oklahoma. Yeah, they might have a year where they get stung a couple of times, like Rattler was. Like I actually voted Oklahoma number 4 in my final poll ahead of Notre Dame because I think actually if they could do that season over, they wouldn't have lost to K-State and they would have been in that playoff and they'd have been more dangerous because they actually have some defensive talent on that team. And so they bring a lot of defensive talent back. So Oklahoma's a real threat. But along with Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama now, right, and Clemson, they've all proven that they can replace the quarterback or they can at least replace the quarterback good enough with the system that they run that they get high-level quarterback play. Yes, there is every reason to believe. Like, they may not go on to be NFL Pro Bowlers, but the combination of their scheme with the quarterbacks they bring in, yes, there's every reason to believe whoever plays quarterback for Ohio State will be good. Whoever plays quarterback for Oklahoma will be good. And now Alabama's got 2 quarterbacks in a row that there's a reason to believe that, yes, whoever plays quarterback at Alabama will be good. Nick Saban has adjusted from being a defensive coach and a smash-mouth football guy to like, yeah, let's throw the ball all around. So, yes, there's a reason to believe that the quarterback will be good at Alabama. And Clemson has gone through what? 3 of them? Deshaun Watson. They had a little Kelly Bryant there for a minute, but Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence, and now, the kid. I don't want to mess up his name.
BJU. By the way, Bryce Young at Alabama
and 400 yards against Notre Dame in a loss.
I know he's going to be good, but there's still potential for hiccups. And if you've noticed, they've also
suck, Steve.
I don't think he is. They've also both of those schools have also decided that, and it's not much of a decision. California is the state that produces more quarterbacks than any other state, and Uyunglele and Bryce Young are both from Southern California. So, bummer for the Pac-12. That sucks.
Wow, they should keep people at home. They got it. That's why USC should pay Urban Meyer whatever it takes,
or pay Bryce Young more, and not whatever they did in that whole mix because he was a USC commit and they lost out on him. But no, I have hope that it's going to be a little more balanced next year. Clemson and Bama will be tough to beat. We'll see what Ohio State has at quarterback, but I think there's a good crew.
That you think is going to ride in and win this bet for you?
What, to make the playoff? I'm not saying championship.
No, to win it. Like the bet you have is on winning a championship, right? No,
it's not. It's to get into the Final Four. He said there's 5 or 6 teams that make it every year. I was like, you take 6, I'll take the rest of the country.
Well, that's a poor bet because there can always be a wild card, and like I said, all the extra year eligibility guys make this harder to do. But
that's what happens on game night. Right after the game, emotions are riding high, frustrations are there. That's when you make bets.
I'll give you credit for making a fairly decent wager, but his point in the macro, right, in the big picture, is valid. I just pointed out that you can go back 6 years and nobody was ever ranked lower than 6 at any point during the year in the AP poll that has won the championship. So if he is accurately targeted, he'd be better to say, I'll take the top 6 teams in the AP poll to start the year, and at least for a champion, he'd be right. I'll have to go back and look. Well, here, I think I got it on this chart. Lowest seed of anybody playing in it. This year, Notre Dame was 10 preseason. They immediately jumped up, and their lowest ranking season was 7. Last year, Oklahoma got in. At one point, they fell to 10. 18, Notre Dame started preseason 12. That was as low as they got. 17, Georgia started at 15 and got in there and played for the title. 16, 14 was available. So, yes, I mean, I think some shit talk happened. You boxed the guy in. You recognize the weakness in his argument. And if so, to get 4 in, you're right. But to win it
It's a long shot.
and probably to play for it,
Yeah.
he's probably right if he's got the right 6 teams.
It's a long shot right now. End of last season, would you have picked those 4 teams, the teams that made it this year? I don't know. I guess you probably would. And here's the other problem with my bet. The other problem with my bet is I'm also betting against a somewhat rigged system that is a TV program. And once the ratings didn't come in this year, which maybe the programmers, the TV show that is the college football playoff, need to start rethinking this thing. But that's a big disadvantage I have on my side, that they have located programs that deliver and have delivered good ratings in the past, and they want to keep going back to the well. They don't want to experiment with BYU or Cincinnati or now essentially it's freaking Power 4 and the Pac-12. They don't even want the Pac-12 in. They're like LA, Washington, Seattle, San Fran. Fuck them.
Listen, Alabama's been in. There have been 7 playoffs. Alabama's been in 6 of them. Clemson, I believe, has been in 6 of them. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Then I think Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma have been in 4. Is that right? 1, 2. I mean, come on. Like, that's the bulk of the spots. There's been 28 spots, and I just named 24 of them. There have been 4 non-Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson spots. Florida State in 14, haven't sniffed it again. Michigan State in 15, haven't sniffed it again. Washington in 16, haven't sniffed it again. Georgia in 17, haven't sniffed it again. They might have sniffed it, but they haven't gotten there. Yeah, that's it. Last 3 years have been all Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Clemson. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's Miller J. I get LSU next year, but I don't have high hopes for Ed Orgeron. So I think that was I
forgot LSU. I'm sorry, LSU in 19 was in there. LSU.
I think that's a flash in the pan. Oh, how about this one? There's another one. We got to get to NFL picks, and then we'll wrap this up. The other thing I noticed and this happens when teams win in blowouts. The other thing I noticed on championship night, Alabama is the greatest team ever. One of the greatest teams. Certainly the greatest team of this generation. So we start asking around the bookmakers in Vegas, hey, what's the line between 2019 LSU and 2020 Alabama? They're like, it's 3 points either way, maybe 1.5. Like, you can't be the greatest team of the last 25 years if you might not even be the best team of the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, LSU, a lot of people thought was the best team. I mean, to their point, I think Alabama won by an average of 29 points a game and LSU won by an average of 27 points a game.
Yeah.
Alabama had only one team, was it Florida, that got within 1 score. LSU had 3 within 1 score, but had some other big blowouts. I mean, it's a fun conversation, Steve. It doesn't all have to be decided. Sometimes that's the fun in sports. You stock and cap.
Oh, that wasn't this conversation is fun, but no one was bringing up this conversation while they were saying Alabama's the greatest. So yeah, I had one guy tell me LSU 1.5. The biggest spread I saw was the Westgate guy said Bama 3.5. So be a good game. We know that.
Oh, it'd be a great game. It was a great game last year when there was a lot of the same principles. It was a 1-score game. What was it? 5. Auburn only lost by 3 last year. We looked it up. I think Alabama lost by 5, and they had one other 1-score game. I can't remember who it was, but one other one. LSU did.
All right. NFL picks. We're down to 4. This is when we really hone in. Yeah, the regular too many games to go through. Too many games.
We're nails.
In the playoffs, yes. Documented 78% going back to 1971. That's my record. You can look it up.
Yep, there it is. You got to find it, but it's there somewhere. Who do you got?
I'm a no play on all 4 games. Now, let's see.
I've got my side on all 4.
Packers 7 against the Rams. Likely to be Jared Goff and not the Wolfman, but we could see the Wolfman play. Rams are the best defense remaining, correct?
Let's do this. Give me your 4 winners, and we'll see where we're opposite.
Packers, Bucks.
Packers. I'm on Bucks.
Chiefs.
I want Chiefs.
Ravens.
Ravens. I'm on all 4.
Oh no! Oh no! We have bet against the Bills for 12 straight weeks.
But this time it comes home. It comes home.
Well, it came home last week. They didn't put away the Colts.
Oh yeah, we have the Colts. I like the Colts. But I think the best play is the Chiefs. I think they're gonna just shit hammer the Browns.
Chiefs, Packers, Saints, Bills. Easy picks, easy money. All right, Casey, Chiefs 3.
I'm fine with the Saints. The Bucks is the least one I have. Like the 150 makes me a little bit nervous that they feel pretty comfortable the Saints are going to win. I like the Ravens though, but the Bucks is my least favorite one. I don't know that I'd play that, but I would play the Packers. I would play the Chiefs, and I feel like I'm going to lose one of the two, and so the Packers is probably the one I'm going to lose because I do not think the Chiefs are going to lose. I think they're going to just destroy the Browns. I was on the Kevin Stefanski Zoom today, and I asked him. I said, "Look, Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in your 5 losses, 22 touchdowns, and 4 INTs in your 11 wins, and you can make it 25-4 in your 12 wins if you want to add in the Steelers." I said, "Is it clear that Baker Mayfield has to have a big game to beat the Chiefs?" And he told me, we have to play well as a team. Your stats, turnover differential. I'm like, well, there's a fucking guy who doesn't believe in his quarterback. So if you won't say Baker Mayfield's got to play well, like Derek Carr played his ass off in beating Patrick Mahomes. The only guy who beat him this year was Derek Carr, and the Raiders went balls to the wall. They never took their foot off the throttle. They kept scoring. 9 losses in Patrick Mahomes' career, 8 times the opposition scored 31 points. Like if Stefanski can't go, Baker Mayfield's got to play well. We're not beating Patrick Mahomes without a well-played game by Baker Mayfield. Then you're asleep at the wheel.
Green Bay, 28 degrees. That's not good with a broken thumb. That sucks.
No, plus a team that not only plays in Southern California, but then even goes into a dome when it's 50.
Yeah. And Bucks Saints. You're on the Bucks?
That's what we said, right? You said Bucks, right?
Yeah. Why are you on the Bucks?
3 times, beating a team 3 times. I think the Saints are good, but I think the Bucks are good too. And I think I just can't buy that they're going to shit themselves. The Saints may get away with one, but they'll get away by a field goal. I think the Bucks are a good team.
Rams will lose by 6, and it'll happen. Okay.
I would not be stunned. Just
what's the bet?
Our second half to the year?
Yeah, it was a disaster. Brady, what's the alternative line you're talking about? Let me see if I can find one. They usually don't go up until later in the week. You want to lay more points?
I would. I think an absolute ass kicking is on the horizon. And listen, people in Kansas City know I've been calling for that for a long time. And so it hasn't come to roost. They had games against the Bucks where they were up double digits. They played like shit. Look, first of all, they played like shit against the Falcons. Barely got to win the last game they tried. Then lost to the Chargers, albeit with all the backups. But still, people are looking at, oh, wow, they gave up all this to the Chargers. And the Browns just had a big win. Like, you don't score 50. There used to be, I remember I told you this, you score 50-something one week, you're like flat as shit the next. The Cleveland Browns, +5. It was 7-0 off the first play of snapping over their head. They didn't the Steelers shot themselves. Like they just kept shooting themselves. Like, the Browns. And I listen, believe me, I'll tell you the other thing is I listen to the Browns media come on in Kansas City. There's a talented team. People aren't giving them credit. People, they need to understand this is a talented Browns team. I'm like, you know what? You're not giving credit to? You lost to the goddamn Jets. Like, you are still the team that lost to the Jets. Yes, you can play up and beat a Steeler team that has been dog shit since week 11. That's not who you're playing. You lost to the Jets 3 weeks ago. Bite ass on how talented this team is.
These are good numbers if they're real. I believe you guys. Andy Reid averaging almost 37 a game off a bye playoffs with Mahomes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Dude, there's an atomic bomb that's going to be dropped on the Browns. It's happening. It's happening.
I got to close on this. A very strong concern. Very strong concern. I feel like our nation is being cheated a bit.
Our knit caps, the raising the price on knit caps.
Well, this one was probably $4, so no worries.
No, I couldn't tell.
Man, it's high quality. Logos and everything. Just a plain black.
At least $4.25.
Just a plain black hat. What's happened to Taco Bell?
I haven't been there for quite a while, so I'm probably not your insider on this one.
For the viewers, the listeners, what is?
And I'm like, what am I missing here?
They got rid of a lot of key items. I think the dollar menu is kerplooey. They cut down their menu.
Well, who could possibly put a Dorito, an eighth of an ounce of meat, 3 flakes of lettuce, and a fraction of cheese together for less than $1?
Del Taco. They own Del Taco. Del Taco is the cheap version of Taco Bell.
Del Taco is owned by Taco Bell?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's all PepsiCo. Or did they change owners from Pepsi? Who's the new owner now?
Del Taco's like, I miss Del Taco. I like me some Del Taco.
Get the fuck. Really? Chipotle's destroying Taco Bell?
Probably because you can go get the burrito, but Chipotle's not getting any cheaper either, though.
Well, Taco Bell's outrageous now.
Oh, dude, you cannot eat at Taco Bell. No, it's like
I was like, I'm looking for.
If you're a fat ass and you want to feel full, it
blows. It blows. The other night we're out. Whatever. Actually, the SO was out.
The soda tastes nothing like what you ordered.
Yeah.
When you wash down the overpriced food.
I'm like, I don't know what's happened. I use the app because I'm blind and I also get anxiety going through the drive-through. So I start freaking out. A lot of times I'll just drive off. I'm like, I can't.
At that drive-through.
Say it again.
They're not fast in the Taco Bell drive-through.
No, the app's good, but here's the thing. Yeah, this is what we're talking about here. The other night I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get a 3 taco combo with a soda, right? So it's like $6.97. So then, the girlfriend's like, all right, I want chicken. I go to hit chicken. It's $1.20 upcharge for each goddamn taco. 3 tacos and a soda. It's $9.69 before taxes. I'm like, we got Roberto's here, which it's good. It's, again, you're probably going to crap yourself, but it's pretty good. Takeout, fast food Mexican. It's cooked there. You get rice and beans. It's good. Like $9.69. I got a bunch of stuff the other night. Like $27 at Taco Bell.
Put up Miller's comment. Listen, I have not been to the one above it.
Oh, I just like this guy saying old men yelling at clouds. The sports is like 15% of this thing. This actually, you know what? We're getting rid of. We're not fucking around here. This is the new name. Old men yelling at clouds. Actually, you know what? Well, I like DC and the Sunshine Man for coking myself. So there might be another day that's just simply old men yelling at clouds. Thank you so much, Sa Miller.
I have. It's been more than a year since I've been at Taco Bell, and it had been more than a year before that time. And it's like every now and then they're like, oh, I'll just go grab it. And you're just like, are you shitting me? First of all, I sat 3 cars deep for like 19 fucking minutes. I got a beverage that it tastes like, I don't know, Diet Cancer would be the flavor I would describe the soda as. Diet Cancer. Like if cancer had a taste, that's what's in my cup. All right. And then God forbid you ask for some extra sauce. Like apparently it's coming out of that guy's check because he doesn't want to give it to you. How many sauces do you want? Well, the food's shit. So give me like 10 per taco. So I'm going to need like 90. Okay. 90 sauces. You've got a bucket of 7 million. Just dump this shit in there. Like you go through McDonald's, they give you 7 things of silverware, 48 salts and peppers, 6 straws. Like I didn't even order a drink. Yeah, you might need one later. They throw in the extras and they're like, it's nothing. Taco Bell, they're like, how about 2?
Yep.
How about eat shit? I've got to douse the flavor of this thing and some sauce to choke it down.
Miller J, I'm using the app. Believe it, if there's anyone on the face of the earth who looks at the specials first, it's me. The only specials that are worth it there, you have to get like whatever $5 box. But to me, a $1.20 upcharge to go from the horse meat taco to chicken, it seems a bit ridiculous on a soft taco. Come on now. Someone says last Taco Bell drive-thru I went to, the server and the driver cussed each other out. Tacos were thrown. Okay, I'm back in. Back in. Yes, get off my lawn. That's me every day in some form or fashion.
Well done.
Well, now I've learned Taco Bell is off the list, and Brady said they're owned by Yum. What is that? KFC. So I'll have to figure out who Del Taco is owned by, and I'm back.
Yeah, we have a. It's like, well, it was. I don't know if they're all still together, but it was Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut, because we had one here right by the station. We called the Kentucky Hut, and you could roll through and get any one of the 3.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
And
I think Taco Bell got all cheap and budget conscious on Fritos. I don't think there's Fritos and shit anymore. I like those. You're right. Just like a beefy Fritos burrito, and it was like a little tube of some squishy meat bean thing, and the Fritos. And you're like, yum, there's crunch in here, but it was $1. So I'm like, I don't care. What's the $1 for that or the $3.99 burrito? It's the same thing.
For you can't beat the squishy meat, can you?
I love squishy meat.
Market.
I'm working a crock pot right now. I'm finishing up a meal for tomorrow right now.
Is Long John Silver's still around?
Which one?
Long John Silver's? I saw Brady.
Oh, yeah. Yep. We got one right near work. I actually got a shout out from Long John Silver's on Twitter last year because I was spanking off the hush puppies. I'm like, these are great. I'm so glad they're around. They're like, okay, we got you. Jazz. Chicken planks, dynamite.
Our great Cajun restaurant, great partner of ours, Jazz, Louisiana Kitchen. They have great hush puppies. They're phenomenal. Does Long John Silver's, can you still get like the tub? They used to call them cracklins when I was a kid. Like basically, here are all the fry-ins that have fallen off, and here's a tub, just fried shit.
I don't know. I hope they're not.
Can I get a tub of cracklins? All the fish has been in there all day. So all the crunchies that have fallen off, they just like scoop it up like it's an ice scoop, throw it in the thing and give it to you. Oh God. I can't figure out how I'm fat though. When that was
does that mesh with the newfangled 2021 menu boards where they show the calories at the end and the cracklins are like 13,000 calories?
13 million. Protein 0. Death imminent.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you. Get it right. Chicken planks. They're dynamite. The breading on that's nice. It's light.
Another couple thousand calories of tartar sauce. Shit, yeah, let's go.
So like I said, I have a crock pot going. I need to eat at 1 o'clock in the morning tonight. That's what
they recommend. They think it's best if you eat late at night.
Yeah, gets the body working, burning calories. What's the Iowa story? What happened?
Oh God. So yesterday I had to drive up and back, right, to Iowa City. First thing, so I get to Iowa. So this must be what's the story I told him the other day. I get to Iowa City, right, and just going to be there for a couple hours. It's about from where, they'll tell you it's about 5 hours, up there. I get out of the car. We arrive in Iowa City. I'm going to run into the convenience store, go to the restroom and get gas. I step out. There's like a wet area. It's 53 for a high in Kansas City. Unbeknownst to me, the high in Iowa City, 33. Hadn't been above freezing for like 5 days. Yep. Fatty fall down, go boom. Right? So I wipe out. I'm on my ass. Like my wife, she's like, you just disappeared. I go, yeah, because I just fell on my ass. Right? It's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And my daughter's like, you okay, Dad? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I go, whatever. Just don't let your mom get out of the car. I'm good. Just make sure she's not coming out of the car to make sure I'm okay, but she'll lean forward, And so I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. So that was like the way I described it today was I said, that's how I started my time in Iowa City. I said, so then we had a doctor's visit, right? Only one parent could go in. And so I was the one who got to be in the car. So 5 hours up there, 2.5 hours sitting in the car. and then I'm going to drive home for 5 hours back. Right. So like I'm in the car, I got to kill this time. And I'm like, you know what? I really need to drop a deuce. Like this needs to happen. But I'm like, it's a pandemic. I don't want to be spending all this time in a convenience store. You know, I'll run in, grab something, get out, whatever. But like, I'm not going into a crowded bathroom with a bunch of, you know, non-mask wearing Iowa freaks, you know, huffing and puffing in there. I'll go into the bathroom if it's super clean. Like I don't like road game dumps. Like I'm not down with that. Like I like to be on the home field, right? So I'm like, all right, I'll go into the bathroom if no one's in there and it's like super clean, then okay, I'm going to handle business. Otherwise, I'm going to wait till I get home tonight, right? Like not ideal, but going to have to happen, right? So I'm like, okay, super clean. No one's in here. Go in the stall, right? And I'm like, all right, here we go. And like as I sit down on the stool, I hit the lid on the toilet paper and the thing flops open. And I see it's one of those things that's got like two spools, right? Sticking out to the side of me though, like parallel to me, two spools for like the giant wheel of toilet paper. There's only one wheel. It doesn't matter. It's fine. There's like 8-9 inches, you know, depth of toilet paper. So plenty of toilet paper. We're good. So I flip the door up and slam it back shut. Handle business. Time for, you know, to clean up. And I go to get the toilet paper and I'm like, okay, here we go. And the door pops open. And I'm like, God damn it. And I'm like, all right, fine. And so I'm taking the toilet paper, but I'm not pulling it to where it's rolling. I'm pulling it this way to where it's coming off the toilet paper, you know, and around. You like tear it, use it, tear it. It's going like this. I pull it and I pulled it off. And it hits the ground and rolls out from the stall underneath and out into the open bathroom part. And I described it today. I said, if you remember like when Eddie Murphy did Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood and the landlord would bang on the door and he'd be like, that was the look on my face like, like, what am I going to do? The squishy waddle out there with trow down? Do you desecrate the underwear, yank it up and go get it? Well, I still had the toilet paper in my hand and it rolled out from under it. I'm like, okay, what I got to, so I try to pull it in. No, way too heavy.
Yeah.
We're not pulling it. It's going to snap.
Right.
So I'm trying to decide, do I do that to get the maximum amount? Because I need paper. I'm not done. I need paper. Or do I give it a quick jerk? Like, what's the best way? I went quick jerk. I got a few feet of toilet paper out of it.
Wow.
So, but then I'm reeling it in. But the good news is the paper hit and rolled, so it stayed flat. So it's flat. So I had to reel it in, kind of like setting it on my knee, so I could fold the dirty side in.
Oh yeah, that's right, man.
Yeah, because I'm dragging it across the floor.
Sure, you want to
hoping nobody walks in to see this, you know, shadowy lurky figure dragging toilet paper from outside the toilet in, right? Fortunately, nobody walks in. I literally had just enough paper. Get out, wash my hands, and I fucking ran out of that place. I'm like, I got to get out of here. It was the scariest, worst experience ever.
Wow. You told this whole story on the show.
I did. I told it to my somebody goes, well, I said, yeah, my daughter called it a TPD. Toilet paper, and then Curtis like disaster. I'm like, no, that wasn't the word. Toilet paper development.
Okay.
And it was. And so I told the story, and they're like, well, what was your wife and daughter saying? Oh, they were laughing their ass off, just like every other day in my house. Yeah. Like I was laughing at Dad.
I assume you opened the phones and took 2 hours of your best or worst shitting experiences from the listeners?
I did not. I left it with that.
That's more of a podcast topic.
That is.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse, man. But I will say this, man, super clean, you know, Quickie Mart or
that's awesome.
You know, Quick and Poop or whatever the name of the place was, you know.
If the toilet paper pull did not go well, would you call your wife, explain the situation, and go, you got to come in the bathroom and you have to throw the roll underneath?
No, I'm at the Quickie Mart. She's at the hospital.
Oh, Christ, you're right.
Which is a hospital. My kid's not
Sorry, I lost that part of the story. Oh God.
Yeah. No, I'm solo. It's a
Do you make
one-man
her?
operation.
You can't make her leave the hospital? Okay.
It was going to be the squishy walk out.
Ooh.
Do you pull the drawers up? Do you soil the drawers on a 30-degree day and throw the underwear away? Like I was facing down all those. And there were real consequences to the decisions that were going to be made there.
Then you got to find like a truck stop. Hope they have like a clean shower. Then you got to go back in the car, drive with all these women, commando. You don't want to really explain any of what just happened. Then you come in, they're like, why does it smell? Like, fuck. All right, we got a long ride. Yeah, I haven't had a quality disaster road crap story in a while, but I've had my share.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into them tonight.
Home teams, home field. Man.
Oh.
Always the home field.
God almighty.
I was literally like, it had to check all the boxes or I wasn't even going to go for it. I was just going to, sit there. No cheating.
I love that attention, Mr. Petro. Your shower stall is open. Hey, what do you think? What do you think truck drivers do?
I agree.
God, I would have. I tell you, that's a dream.
Drove a truck for a couple of years.
That's a dream job, man. The freedom of that job. That's awesome. What a job. Uppers the whole time, eating fast food. Or ramen. Get a hot plate. Eat ramen every day in the truck. That'd be my approach. Clearance meat, as the Vegas market knows. I love clearance meat. Anytime I can get some old meat.
Near as I can tell, that's kind of your life there in Vegas, isn't it? Clearance meat, a lot of ramen, hot plate.
I will drive out to the truck stop every once in a while. Just
you're officially a fat ass when you have a hot plate next to your bed, Steve. Which that was big when you made that move.
Never get away from the dorm room experience. Love it. Next time on We're Not Fucking Around Here, next week I will tell stories about my new foodie grill. And I did intro the news last night. I'll have more on it next week. I bought a new slicer. Got tired of not being able to find the replacement screw on the last one, so just invested in a new slicer. So hopefully something exciting happens beyond a nightmarish shitting situation in Petro's life, but I'm sure something will come down the pike. Thank you so much for sticking with us for 2 hours. After that, we better go 4-0 in the playoffs, or else.